Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I have been gone for a while now, but yeah, say it's just life. I had a few doubts, but I had a few assurances from the weekend, and I felt like I don't know. I guess just life happening. Anyway, I'm back. Good weekend for football, but there's some really shocking results. Um, I, as you all know, I'm a Man United fan, and I will save that for last because I have like this good rant about Man United. So let me just do other fans of other teams service by just talking about their teams first. Then just have a good Man United rant at the end and talk about Man United at the end. Anyway, Man City started us off with a 3-0 with a 5-2 win against Crystal Palace. And this game was nice. Like at a point it was Crystal Palace were leading, and I was so happy because I hate Man City. But then Man City just pulled up, beat them 5-2, and basically it was expected. Like Man City were to win this game. And they're chasing top four. Currently they are at let's see, they are fifth. And there's this article I read somewhere that if Chelsea win the Conference League, then England get 9 spots in Europe. So that means number one to number five get Champions League. Then number six, seven, eight get Europa League. Then number nine gets Conference League. But then what happens if Man United win the if Man United win the Europa League, then that will mean till 10 teams will get it. I don't think so, because if Chelsea win the Europa League and finish sixth, then wait, if Chelsea win, not even if, not if, let me just remove the if from the sentence, because we all know Chelsea will win the Conference League. Nobody watches that. Like teams, they play their academy in the Conference League and still look miles better than the teams in the Conference League. If the teams that are playing in the Conference League were in the Premier League, they'd be in League One. I don't really even know, but Chelsea are playing some crap teams. That's why they keep winning. Nobody highlights on it apart from Chelsea fans. And Chelsea fans, please have some class. Like, Conference League results. Yes, you'll win the Conference League, but then it's not a competition worthy of a team as big as Chelsea to celebrate. Maybe I'm being hypocritical here, but if Man United were in the Conference League, yes, I'd want us to win, but I don't know. It wouldn't be a priority to me. It wouldn't be as prioritized as much as Chelsea have prioritized it. So what I read is that if Chelsea win the Conference League and finish at sixth, then 9 teams go into Europe. And Newcastle won the Carabao Cup. That gives them if no matter where Newcastle finish, they have that option of playing in the Conference League. But then Newcastle are now at fourth with a game in hand, just above Man City. I will talk about them at the end. So I still don't know what will happen if Man United or Tottenham win the Europa League, but for if you win the Europa League, you get automatic qualification for the Champions League. So will that mean that the fifth team, it being Man City at the moment, will will play in the Europa League, because number one, two, three, four automatic qualification. Then number five, the fifth team to play in the Champions League will be Man United. Then number five, six, seven play in the Europa League, and then number eight play in the Conference League. But then if Chelsea win the Conference League and finish sixth, then Bournemouth will also not Brighton will also be in a position to play in the Conference League. So okay, let me I'm mixing myself up as I'm talking. So let me just make this point and move on. So if Man United win the Europa League and finish where we finish, that's automatic Champions League qualification, and that's the top five playing in the Champions League. So that will be 6 teams from England in the Champions League, right? Then, if Chelsea finish at sixth and win the Conference League, then if Chelsea finish, emphasis on finishing at sixth and win the Conference League, then that will mean Chelsea, Aston Villa, and Fulham will play in the Europa League. Okay? Then that leaves Brighton at ninth playing in the Conference League. So that will mean that England will take 10 teams to Euro. Basically, that's what I read. I hope you all have understood it. Anyway, back to the fixtures. Man City won 5-2, boohoo. Brighton drew with Leicester City 2-2, and I'm not so sure if the relegation battle is done, because yeah, it's basically done. West Ham are at 35 points, Ipswich are at 21, Leicester at 18. So that's like nine. That's it's like a 10-15 point gap, and I don't think they'll overturn it. I think Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton are relegated. I think Southampton certified relegated, 10 points. Will they finish with less points than Derby, who have the record for the least points in the Premier League? I don't know. They're still at 10th. Will they get to 13th? We don't know. But it's Brighton drew with Leicester, which was a really nice game, by the way, because Leicester played really well, really well. Rumors that Man United will be in for Jamie Vardy. I'm not so sure I want Jamie Vardy as a striker at Man United, but then he will be better than what we have, and he will be experience brought to the team that we are in dire need of. So I don't know. I wouldn't want Jamie Vardy at Man United, but for the position that we are at, we are not really spoiled for choice. He will be free. Man United. I'll talk about Man United at the end of the video. So Brighton drew with Leicester 2-2. Aston Villa beating Southampton. Everyone saw it coming 3-2. Everton beating Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest haven't been as okay over the last few games, because let me just look at what their what their record have been. They've lost a couple of games previously, because I think they lost last week. Yeah, last week. No, they beat us last week. Man, last week, but one, I think they lost. But then they've been on a downward spiral. But then they are still certified. They will finish third, 57 points. Oh, wait. This gets more interesting now. Nottingham Forest are on 57 points, right? And Newcastle are on 56 points with a game in hand. So if Newcastle win their game in hand, they go to 59 points, leapfrogging, going above Nottingham Forest on third. Oh, that makes it more interesting. So will Newcastle finish third, or will Nottingham Forest finish third? I do not know. I really hope Nottingham Forest doesn't fall off, because I'm really excited to see them in the Champions League next season. I think they'll be. I am really excited to see them. But then they lost Everton yesterday 1-0. Arsenal drew with Brentford. I think in the Premier League, Arsenal season is over. I think the players heads are in the Champions League. What a win at Real Madrid! What a win against Real Madrid, by the way. They beat Real Madrid 3-0. Two brilliant free kicks from Declan Rice, as my friend Edu says it, bend it like Dex. He was cooking. I guess that's why it's called rice. But anyway, Declan Rice, brilliant performance midweek. I think Arsenal, nobody is talking about Arsenal and Inter Milan having a good shot at winning the Champions League, because and this is really controversial. But then I think if Arsenal met PSG in the semi-finals, which is more possible than that they will, because I don't think Aston Villa can overturn a 3 goal deficit. I don't know, but then I think Arsenal have what it takes to beat PSG, because I so many people rate PSG, but then I don't know. I don't. There's just something about PSG that really gets on my nerve, because yeah, they are playing good football. Vitinha is shining, Dembele is shining, and Due and all these players, they are shining. But then I think if PSG, no, not even if PSG, I think I think Arsenal have what it takes to beat PSG in the semi-finals. And personally, I think Inter will beat Barcelona. If Inter get past Bayern, I think they meet Barcelona in the semi-finals, because Barcelona beat Dortmund 4-0. I don't think are in a position to overturn a 4 goal deficit. So it's like Bourbon that Barcelona will be in the semis, and I think and they meet Aston Villa. So not Aston Villa, Inter Milan, and I think Inter Milan have what it takes to beat Barcelona, because Barcelona attacking wise, and with Pedri and De Jong in midfield, brilliant. But then their defense is so suspect, and they play such a high line, and Inter hit you on the counter, and the center backs that Inter have, oh man, Bastoni and like some really old heads, that old school defending, they'll pinch you, grab your shirt. Like old school experienced defending back when football was still as interesting as it was. Back when players had passion. Back when not even get me started on passion. But yeah, Inter have what it takes to beat Barcelona, and I think Inter will beat Barcelona. And I think that leaves the final being Inter versus Arsenal. And Arsenal do the only thing that can cost Arsenal the Champions League is the lack of a striker. If Arsenal had a striker, I would be so sure that they will win the Champions League, because the way Inter play, you need a striker. So I don't know if Kai Havertz will be back, but then I don't know if Kai Havertz is a good enough striker to trouble Inter. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, so I think for the players, for the manager, I think for them, their head is already gone in that the Premier League is over. We will finish second for sure, but then we have a chance of making history in the Champions League. That's why he rested so many players, and I think on Wednesday they will just put a stamp on the semi-finals, because I don't even if Real Madrid score, I don't think they have it in them to score 3 goals or 4 goals. So yeah, I think Arsenal played this game with the mentality of that, like focus is on Wednesday. Let's just get this over with. They drew 1-1 with Brentford, widening the gap. Liverpool will basically win the league. They're not playing in any other competition, so yeah, they will play the league. And this made my weekend. Oh my god, this result made my weekend. Wolves whooping Tottenham 4-2. Oh my god, that result made my weekend. I loved it. I loved it. Wolves beating Tottenham 4-2. Loved it. Liverpool beating West Ham 2-1. Expected. How underrated is Mo Salah, by the way? We'll just have to do a video on that. But Mo Salah is hands down the best player in the Premier League. Hands down, probably the best player in the world right now. Because if Mo Salah was Brazilian or like Norwegian or European, Mo Salah will get so much recognition. But then since he's from Africa, and maybe I'm not tagging the Premier League with like racism or anything, but then I feel like Mo Salah is so underrated, and the fact that he's already signed a new contract is a huge boost for Liverpool, and they beat West Ham 2-1, and this is coming from a Man United fan. So like I hate Mo Salah, but I have to acknowledge how good he is. Yeah, they beat West Ham 2-1. Ipswich Ipswich drew 2-2 with Chelsea. Good result. As you all know, I love Ipswich. I love Ipswich, and I really hoped they would stay up because I love their way of play. I love their players. Delap, brilliant player, but they drew 2-2 with Chelsea. Chelsea have like some. Chelsea have a run in like their fixtures. They still have to face Liverpool, right? They have to play Man United. They have to play City. They have to play Nottingham Forest, and oh man, Chelsea have quite the running. Yeah, yeah. Ipswich are already relegated, so like yeah, 2-2, something to take down with. I think if Kieran McKenna, if they get relegated and come back up, and I think next season, if Ipswich have it in them to to in the championship to come back up to the Premier League, and the next season, not next season, but season after next, if Kieran McKenna can just organize himself well and keep Ipswich in the Premier League, I will take him as Man United manager because he is the only manager to get promoted from league to league to league to league, year after year after year. He is the only manager to do that. So, and he was Man United's set piece manager, but then I don't know what happened. But then, yeah, if Kieran McKenna can do that in the next 2 years, I'm really watching out for him, by the way, because I love his style of play. But then I'm really watching out for him. Now to the game that ruined my weekend. Man United 1, Newcastle United 4. Oh my god, where to start with this game? That's probably the worst I've seen Ugarte play, because as everyone around me know, so many people don't rate Ugarte because they don't see what he does in midfield. He's not the slickest passer, but then he can break up the play. Right? He does the dirty work that no other player wants to do. He defends very well. But then we have a game on Thursday, right? And most of the first team played midweek on Thursday. So Amorim's hands were tied because he has to rest players. Harry Maguire has to rest. Delete. I don't know if he's back yet from his injury. Oh, Dogu has to rest because our season basically is hanging on the Europa League. If we get kicked out of the Europa League, that's it for us, man. Like, we have no Europe next season, and that will cut into our PSR issues because there's an article I read where if Man United don't qualify for the Champions League this season, or was it next season, we will have issues with PSR because we paid really high wages, and we paid really high transfer fees. So we will have issues with PSR if we don't get that Champions League money. Profit sustainability rules, that's PSR. And we got our I'm sorry, you'll just have to allow me to curse. We got our asses handed to us by Newcastle 4-1, and they were all our mistakes. So many people were like, drop Onana, drop Onana, drop Onana. Onana got dropped. We still lost 4-1. So that shows you that the issue is in the players, the issue is in the manager. And I didn't really want to argue with my uncle yesterday when he told me he doesn't see what Garnacho brings to the team. But then I see what Garnacho brings to the team. Garnacho is a tricky pace. He's a pacey and he's a tricky winger. And what should have happened with Garnacho is Rashford being given the new contract should have held down the left wing position, and Garnacho should have been his understudy, learning under Rashford. Rashford messed up, got the contract, fell off massively. We had to take him over to Aston Villa, and at Aston Villa it's not like he's pulling up trees or anything. He's just doing what he used to do at Man United anyway. But I don't really get it. Where is all this hate for Garnacho coming from? Because I see what he can do. I see his potential. And that's the thing. He has potential. He should not be starting for Man United. Yes, he should not be starting for Man United at his age right now. There should be a senior player starting for Man United right now who will give way, teach Garnacho the ropes, so that when it gets to handing over, Garnacho has it all to get into the pitch. Look at what Pep did with De Bruyne and Foden. And yeah, you could say I'm making a comparison to Pep, who has like a billion, who has like a whole well of money to spend on players. But then look at how he bedded Foden into the team. Look at how Saka got brought into the team. He wasn't just rushed into the team. He was given time to make mistakes, develop as a player. Look at what we're doing with Chido Obi Martin. He's been given time to develop as a player. Go play with the youth a little, come be on the bench, do this, do that. He's developing as a player, given minutes here and there. And he's been given the chance to try things. Try, make mistakes. Garnacho is not being given the opportunity to try and make mistakes because he has to start. And that gets into a young person's mind in that I have to be perfect. And that's into a lot of our generation and like players, people younger than me. We brought up with the mentality of that we have to be perfect because we were brought up in the age of technology. So we don't have to look to our parents to be our role models. There's the internet. There's this person who does what I want to do when I grow up. So I want to be like them. And when you don't know them personally, you don't know if they make mistakes. If I am an aspiring footballer and like say I'm 19, 15, I'm watching videos of Ronaldo every day, and videos of Ronaldo don't show you Ronaldo making the mistakes. And I feel like that's what Garnacho has, because Garnacho grew up idolizing Ronaldo. And at his age, I don't think he really saw Ronaldo as Ronaldo. I don't know if you all understand what I'm saying, because his age is so young. He is so young. He didn't see Ronaldo making the mistakes at Man United, taking on too many players, frustrating fans, frustrating Ferguson. He didn't see that of Ronaldo. He saw Ronaldo as Ronaldo, the Ronaldo himself, the videos of Ronaldo of him taking on players, not making mistakes. And I feel like that is what Garnacho is trying to do, because he gets in his head so much in that I want this to be perfect. I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want this. So he's not given the opportunity to try and make mistakes and learn. And that's what really frustrates me with fans at Man United. I think Garnacho has the potential to be one of the best players in the world. And that's just the thing, the potential. And potential can be lost because of not nurturing it well. Not giving it the what's it called? Not giving potential what it deserves to thrive. And Garnacho needs us, Man United fans, to believe in him. Yes, you'll be criticized because you're starting for Man United and Man United at one of their lowest points in time. Yes, you will be criticized. But then, criticize Garnacho and give him hope because he is still very, very young and he still has the potential to be one of the best players in the world because I look at how he plays and I see it. And maybe I'll be wrong in the next couple of years, I don't know. But then there's a proven track record. Look at Anthony Elanga, Nottingham Forest fans singing, he left cause you're shit, he left cause you're shit, Anthony Elanga, he left cause you're shit. And exactly my point, Anthony Elanga left Man United and went to Nottingham Forest, and now Man United are looking at Anthony Elanga like, we could use that player at a position in our team right now. He didn't, okay, yes, he didn't really leave because we're shit, because when he left, he wasn't doing what he was doing at Man United right now, what he's doing at Nottingham Forest. But then what's to say if we give Garnacho out to like a Napoli, he'll go out there and be a star and we'll be like, oh man, another one bites the dust. I don't know if you all understand what I'm saying. Let's give Garnacho time to develop, to be that kind of player. My ideal summer will be bringing a number 10 that can play the Amorim system. And you'd have Ahmad, Garnacho, Zaxi, Bruno, Mason Mount, who else can? Kobe Mainu. You have so many players that can play, and Garnacho, who can play at that number 10, so that you can... Garnacho was thriving last season because he was given the role as an impact sub. And that is what a developing player wants. Wants to come in when the legs are tired, boost his confidence, get in there, get goals, get assists. And Amorim's system is like, okay, Ten Hag's system suited Garnacho as a glove because Ten Hag's system had wingers. Amorim's system has wing backs. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Has wing backs, and I'll get to that in a minute. And Garnacho, I don't know if Garnacho can play as a wing back because I see his defensive capabilities are okay. I think Amorim can try him at wing back, see what he can do. But then he's been playing him as number 10. Basically, he has been playing as the number 10, as one of the two number 10s, but then he drifts wide. So I don't know, maybe Amorim can try him as a wing back. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, let's give Garnacho time. I see the potential in him, and trust me, this guy has the potential to be one of the best players in the world. One of the best players in the world. I've seen it. You look at, I have the uncle of mine. I have, okay, two uncles introduced me to Man United, and one of them adored Cristiano Ronaldo. And I remember Cristiano Ronaldo was really frustrating because he would take on so many players and run into blind alleys. But then he had the players around him to... Roy Keane will like lose his shit shouting at Ronaldo. But Ronaldo would keep on doing it. But then he learned the more he grew up and learned to modify his game. You look at, and there's this... You remember when Ronaldo did the interview with Piers Morgan, right? And he said there are certain players, young players right now don't want to listen to older players and don't want to be given their advice. But then he mentioned a couple of players who listened to him. Garnacho, Dallo, Bruno Fernandes. And is it really a coincidence that them three players are the fittest players in our team right now? Them three players. They're the only three players in our team that are always fit, always ready to play. Is it a coincidence? I think not. Because Garnacho wants to learn. He's learning from Messi, international duty. He's learning from Ronaldo because Ronaldo is his icon, basically. He's good. He's learning. Let's give the boy a chance to develop. Let's not tear him down. Enough on Garnacho. On the game, Garnacho did score, but I've seen a lot of fans piling on to Ugarte. Manuel Ugarte, he was playing in midfield with Casper the Ghost Ericsson. I mean, oh, it was a one-man midfield basically because Bruno was playing as the number 10 and the midfield two behind the two number 10s was Ericsson and Ugarte. And Ugarte was doing everything because Eriksen doesn't have the legs to keep up with the Premier League right now. I'm not saying Eriksen is not a class player. He is a good player, but then he doesn't have the legs to keep up with the Premier League right now. And Ugarte was doing everything in that midfield. It was Ugarte against Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and what's the name of the other player? And the guy that they were fighting, Joe Linton. And these are the three most physical midfielders in the Premier League right now. The best midfield in the Premier League, arguably, right now. And you have Manuel Ugarte as a one-man army trying to defend against them three. It's impossible. And there's this auntie of mine that I was with yesterday, and I love her. Don't get me wrong. I love you, auntie. I love you so much. But then she yelled at me, not like yelled at me in a bad way, but then she yelled at me and she was like, Amorim, change your fucking system. And I couldn't argue with her at that point because I didn't want to be disrespectful and I was so angry because we were being beaten 4-1. But then I really disagree with so many people telling me Amorim should change his system because we've seen it with Mourinho. Okay, Mourinho didn't really change his system because he's a pack the bus, sit them on the counter kind of manager. But then Ten Hag, same position that Amorim is in right now. Ten Hag came in with a good style of football, with an expansive style of football, and he was like, okay, this style of football got me the job. The players aren't able to do it. Let me try and change my system, play this kind of football till I get the players that can play my system, and then I will play my system. But then you don't know what happens with the human brain. It's that when you get too comfortable doing something, it's so hard to change it. So hard to change it. He won the FA Cup in his the Carabao Cup in his first season playing a different style of football than the style of football that gave him the job. And even when he got his players, the brain has already clicked that okay, this is working. I don't want to change it. What if I change it? What if it doesn't work? Okay. And he ended up changing it, and when he changed his system, it got him the sack. Right? So many people shouting at me, yelling at me, Amorim, you have a really complicated system. Change your fucking system. I don't want Amorim to change his system. I want Amorim to stick with his system. And I want the board to back Amorim with the players that can play his system so that if his system fails, we can know, okay, it wasn't the players, it wasn't the management, it was Amorim's system that doesn't work in the Premier League. It only works over in Portugal. So sack him. That's what I want to happen. I don't want Amorim to get sacked. I want him to do well. But then he has a really complicated system. And that is why Dan Ashworth was fired. Because Dan Ashworth told Ineos that, okay, yes, we're sacking Ten Hag right now. But you want Amorim. Amorim wants to play with a 3-5-2-1 formation. A very different system than the players we have. Get a manager who can play the system that fits the players that we have right now, that can fit Rashford, Garnacho, whoever, them players. So he was offering names up like Gareth Southgate, Graham Potter, Sean Dyche. And these names are names of managers that can play the system. Nagelsmann. Okay, personally, other than Amorim, the other manager that I would have taken is Nagelsmann, because Nagelsmann's system is not so different from Ten Hag's. Also, Hansi Flick's system is not as different from Ten Hag's, and that system would have fit these players very well. Even though we will still not be as good, even though we will not still play the system as well, but then we will be better off because the system is kind of sort of familiar to this system that these players are used to. But then Ineos sacked Dan Ashworth because they said he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't know what he's saying. Sack him. Let's bring in Amorim. Amorim came in. Look at what is happening right now. Dan Ashworth is seated in his garden right now and he's like, I told you so. I told you so. And he's sipping his margarita or whatever he's drinking right now, and he's like, I saw this coming, and this burger sacked me because I told them this system, Amorim's system, doesn't fit these players. And I personally, I wasn't for the sacking of Ten Hag because I could see what Ten Hag is doing. I could see what he was trying to do with Mason Mount and now Ugarte and Bruno. I could see him building. I could see what Ten Hag was trying to do. But then, so it's a mess really, because we sacked Ten Hag, who plays a certain brand of football, right? And Ten Hag goes, we bring in Amorim, who plays a completely different type brand of football. We don't back him in January. We send a couple of players out on loan. Don't replace them. Players are getting injuries. Zaxi, and I really hope it's not a serious injury with Zaxi, because I know how a hamstring injury feels. And just a stat to throw out there, this season and last season have the most muscle injuries in Premier League history, and that's because we are playing so many games. Even, yeah, and there's this guy who like told me that we love Bruno because Bruno is always available. Yes, he is always available, but the thing about the human body is that it gets tired, and Dalo and Bruno showed it yesterday because they were tired. Bruno and Dalo, they were tired. They didn't really play as well because they were tired. They played every minute of every game since the Premier League started. FA Cup, whatever. They have played every minute of every game. And they are tired. But then we sent Rashford away. What's the other name? Anthony is not around. Malacia is not around. Didn't replace them. So we have a thinner squad than it was when we had them, even though our body is better than nobody, right? Our body on the bench, Malacia on the bench, is better than nobody, right? Luke Shaw just came back from injury. He's made of glass. Even when he came on, I'm so surprised we haven't gotten an update from Man United right now that he's out with another injury, minor setback. Harry Amas getting bullied by Shah on a corner, and it is so frustrating seeing how passion has been taken out of the game, out of a really passionate game. Harry Amas being bullied by Fabian Shah, a teenager being bullied by a grown-up, and no other player sticking up for him. Nobody. Until Leni Yoro, who is also a teenager, going to stick up for Harry Amas. Where was Lindelof? Where was Lindelof? Where was Mazraoui? Where was, back when the game had passion? Right now the game doesn't have passion, and it's really frustrating. Really, really, really frustrating. Anyway, we have a game on Thursday, and our season rests on the Europa League. And y'all say drop Onana. Onana got dropped. It's not any different with Bayindia. So what do you do now? I honestly do not know. Lindelof. Don't even get me started on Lindelof. But he has to go in the summer. Anyway, that was a good rant. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing to my channel. Make sure you like, subscribe to my channel, share my videos, and it's still a growing channel. I still need y'all to help me grow. And yeah, anyway, y'all have a pleasant week, and I will see you all on the next one.